All right, everybody, welcome back. It's another edition of Unwired Appalachia, the podcast. Very, very special guest in the house, former Pikeville Panther, doing big things these last couple of years. He's been in Wabash Valley, recently committed to Murray State. Dylan Thompson, congrats. Before we get into everything, I guess the news is Murray State. After a couple of years at Wabash JUCO, why was Murray State the right fit for you there, going on at the next level and playing D1 college ball?
They were my first offer in high school actually, and then I decided to take the JUCO route. And so I've just kind of had a relationship with them for you know, honestly like 3 4 years, just coming through high school, then watching me at junior college over at Wabash. And just kind of build a good relationship with their coaches over time. Obviously, they went to Omaha year before last, and the program's moving, in a great direction. Got a lot of good things going on right there. And, just kinda combining that with, the relationship I had with the coaches and just kind of the trust we built, just kinda, after, talking to them, talking about, philosophies and things like that they do over at that school, it just kinda felt like it was a place where I would fit in well and kinda get along with the coaches and be able to, keep progressing in my career, so it was kind of an easy decision once they came along, this summer, so.
Yeah, Murray State, like you said, they're on the rise. But for a recruit, for any kid out there who's, wanting to play next level, was JUCO, D1, whatever, the recruiting process, you just touched on it, the relationships you built at Murray State coming up. How important are building relationships and keeping in touch with these guys throughout your career? Because, college is very fluid nowadays. You can be
Yeah.
one school one year, one next. Just talk about building relationships and how important that is for anybody who might want to go through the recruiting process,
Yeah.
play at the next level.
And, like you said, like, how the game is now, people, bounce around schools. Like you said, you can be at one school one year, another school next year, and so the relationship with the coaches, like in today's game, is way more rare. People leaving and going every year, you don't have the time to kind of build that relationship. So if you get in contact with a school and are able to have time to build that relationship and trust, it's a special thing, and it's something to not take for granted in today's game. And, like, that fits right into my process. That's, why I chose Murray. It was, the only school that I had talked to, for a long time and kind of knew the coaches, decently well just from talking to them for years. And so that felt like, kind of like a safety net. Like I could go there and, be familiar with the coaching staff, come in and just fit right in. So it's rare in today's game. So if you find that, it's special for sure.
Yeah, and before we get into your time at Wabash, just kind of talk about, before you signed, you were playing summer ball in different leagues. I
Yeah.
think you were in the Appy League or whatever it
Yeah.
was. Just to talk about, how important finding the right league is, getting the reps
Yeah.
in, because baseball, you got to get those reps in, whether you're a high school or playing travel ball or whatever. Talk about how important to get your reps in, get your name out there, and get seen by the right coaches, the right people, because today's age is all about getting seen.
Yes. And, summer ball, especially at the collegiate level, like, if you're trying to get recruited to a college, you really have to pay attention to, like, where you're playing at because where you're playing at is where a lot of, schools are gonna be recruiting you. Like, for example, if you're playing on the West Coast, I played on the West Coast, last summer and was getting recruited by schools on the West Coast. I played in the Appalachian League this summer in Virginia and getting recruited by schools more in this region. So, that's something to pay attention to for sure. And, like summer leagues, you can do a lot of research on those because, the coaches in summer leagues also are very, they like it's huge on development as well. So I would definitely do research and, kind of try to find a league that kind of checks the boxes of find a coach with some experience, some high, playing level in his days, and also find a region where you would like to be recruited. And that's kind of what helped me make my decision with summer ball too.
Awesome. Just kind of talking about your time at Wabash. I mean,
Yeah.
2 seasons there, some people don't look at the JUCO route. Some people look at, whatever route they want to go right to D1.
Yeah.
Why was that the right decision for you? I mean, and for those who don't know, what high level is that Wabash play? Because they're always, you hear that name all the time, like they've made it to
Yeah.
the World Series. You got to compete in that, the JUCO World Series. Just talk about that level, why that was kind of right for you, and
Yeah.
how good that league is.
Yeah. And, like, coming out of high school for me, I had some injuries in high school, and that's kinda why I started looking at the JUCO route. And a lot of people overlook JUCO, they wanna go D1 straight out of high school always, but,
Mhm.
junior college was the best, thing that's happened to me in my career, and I would recommend it to anybody. Um, you know, you get the most like, if you wanna go somewhere and just play baseball for hours a day, like, get reps, see as a hitter, see as many pitchers as you can as a pitcher, see as many hitters as you can. It's a great place to go for a year or two
Mhm.
and just kind of develop, learn the game a little more, and then kind of build some toughness because, in junior college, the money's not there. So, you kind of figure out if you really love the game or not. And for me, that's it. Like I said, it completely transformed me. Like after going there for 2 years, I feel like I'm leaving a different person. Like I threw 100 innings. Official 100 official innings in
Mhm.
both springs, like, in 2 years, and that's not even counting the fall. I probably threw 20, 30 both falls. It's just a lot of experience, and getting recruited out of JUCO in today's game is a lot easier than high school.
Mhm.
Just because of that experience. Like, if a D1 coach is looking at a JUCO guy who's throwing 100 innings and a high school guy who threw 40 innings in, a high school conference, he's taking the JUCO guy. So, it's a route that I would definitely not overlook. I think it fits a lot more people than, just injuries. I think people who maybe didn't get a lot of reps in high school or, just wanna play more, wanna learn the game more, I think JUCO is a good route for that too. And, like you said with the competition, like, we played in Grand Junction at the World Series, like, every team there, hitters 1 through 9, and probably at least 3 or 4 of their pitchers were either MLB draft guys in the upcoming draft or the next one, or we're committed, like, Power 4, Power 5, D1, so it's good competition too. You kinda figure out where you kinda rank,
Mhm.
and it kinda, helps you, playing against good competition, makes you better. And so that's it's JUCO's it's a gritty experience, and it makes you a better person and a player all around.
Yeah, and just kinda talk about getting to experience that JUCO World Series. I mean,
Yeah,
anytime you play in a World Series, I don't care what level, it's usually pretty high level
yeah,
competition. Just talk about that experience and because, high pressure, high situation, that's what pitchers want, and that's what good players want. Just talk about that if you can.
yeah. Up to my point in my career, that's the biggest stage I've pitched in. Like, I started the 2nd game of our World Series up there, and, like, cameras everywhere, thousands of people in the stands. You look up behind home plate, there's multiple hundreds of scouts, whether that be professional in college. It's a big deal. The JUCO World Series is a big deal. It's a big, event in all college baseball, not just JUCO. And so it's a big stage, a lot of cameras on you, a lot of eyes on you. Like we played on ESPN Plus.
Mhm.
So going out in the first inning, like, I mean, you kind of got to find a way to calm the nerves down a little bit, that adrenaline rush. And once I kind of got through the first inning, I kind of settled in a little bit. But it was nervous for sure. I'm not afraid to say that. The adrenaline rush is crazy, and it's experience that I'll definitely never forget.
But that's why you play for those big
Exactly.
experiences, those big moments. Just kind of talk about, how you've changed as a player for anybody remembers you at Pikeville, the bat, you were dangerous with the bat, you could throw. Are you more of a pitcher focus now, or are you I mean, I kind of looked at your stats and stuff. It looked like you were pitching way more than hitting us.
Yeah.
I saw you got a few at bats, but are you mostly developing as a pitcher at this next level?
Yeah. So I hit my freshman year at Wabash and then decided to just pitch this past year. Um, Once you get in college, it's, unless you're Shohei Ohtani, it's pretty hard to do both. You kind of, because, everybody, the floor kind of rises on you a little bit, the talent's way better. And it's a lot more like college, there's a lot more players. Like we had 58 kids on our team this year at Wabash. So, I kinda sat down with my coaches and we kinda figured, the best thing for me is kinda specialize in one, and I think that's what a lot of people do once they get in college. A lot of two-way guys in high school kind of pick the one that either is their favorite or the one they feel like they're best at and kinda specialize and move forward with that. It just makes it a little easier, on you, kinda narrowing down the focus on what you're trying to take to the next level, and, like a recovery standpoint as well. Like, when I was hitting and pitching, I was at the field for 6 hours a day.
Mhm.
And, just pitching, I could just focus on pitching for an hour and a half, get my work in for the day, and then and call it a day. On the field. Obviously, off the field, there's lifting and stuff like that, but it just kind of shortens your day, shortens your focus, and kind of allows you to kind of take what you're best at and what your favorite thing to do is, and just kind of just hone in on that and work on that.
Yeah, and for guys like me who are your season is going on as the local season going on, so I haven't got to see what you play at the next level. How would you assess yourself? Where have you improved at as a pitcher? What's the things that maybe you didn't know before now because now you got whole pitching staffs to worry. That's all you're focusing on. Just kind of talk about how you've grown as a pitcher. I guess the last couple of years, if you can.
Yeah, it's a huge difference in high school. I didn't even really, like, have a third pitch, like, I would throw a fastball and a slider
Mhm.
and flip a changeup in there every now and then, and, be able to get away with it in high school, but, once you get to that next level, any level in college, it's just from a pitchability standpoint, it's kinda help you kinda think about the game a little more. I had to develop, a third pitch, and I have 4 now, just mastering more pitches is because the hitters are better. You gotta find a way to keep them off balance, whether that be different pitches, different speeds, different locations, like arm angles. You start seeing more like submarine guys in college than you do in high school. More straight over the top guys. It's just finding a way to separate yourself from like the standard pitcher. And for me, that was adding 2 more pitches and working different locations like constantly. And to kind of generalize it, I would just say the difference between high school and college is, like I said, just finding a way to separate, like find a strength that you have and find a way to separate that from everybody else, and that'll make you stand out.
Yeah, just kind of talk about the mental focus that you have to have at that next level as well. Because,
Yep.
like you said in high school, I thought you had a really good point. You can get by with some things. Now, as a pitcher, maybe you miss your spot. You're gonna pay for that, whether it's a
Yep.
base hit or whatever. Just talk about the mental focus and the mentality you have to go into at this level because you can't make some of the same mistakes over and over. I mean,
Yeah.
just kind of talk about that if you can.
Yeah. Just like you said, like in high school, I'd throw fastball down the middle and have decent confidence. That swing and miss, ground ball out, whatever. If you miss, a location, in college, it's 50-50 ball. Like you sometimes you get away with it, sometimes they make you pay.
Yeah.
And so like you said, like I think the mental side is more important pitching than the physical side. Just because you like I said, you have to think more. Like you gotta think about the process of getting somebody out now. It's like you start doing scouting reports, you start, looking at what hitters don't like, say you're looking at the leadoff guy to start the game, you go back and watch film on him, you've learned
Mhm.
what pitches he hits the best, what he doesn't like, what he takes, what he chases at, and it's, the mental side is just way bigger at the college level than high school because you have to form a process on how to get every hitter out rather than just going up there and just throwing.
Yeah, I think that was a perfect answer. It kind of sticking on the kind of the same subject, but as in high school, you were known as a hard worker, right? But I'm sure the difference in the work you have to do now as opposed to then, not saying, that high school isn't hard work, but it's a different game.
Yeah.
It almost has to encompass you to be successful. Just kind of talk about the differences that, a lot of kids going into college, whether whatever level, they don't realize what they're getting into. And because you almost have to eat, sleep, breathe baseball
Yeah.
at all points, I would imagine, to get to where you're at, I
Yeah.
would imagine.
Yeah. Like I mean, it's a rude awakening for some people. Like I said in JUCO, you kind of find out if you really love the game or not. Like you got
Mhm.
the 6:30 a.m. lifts. We would practice till the sun goes down every day. And the work ethic, has to be there in order to succeed, past high school. Um, like I would lift at 6:30 a.m., go to class, go to practice, and then after practice, go get another lift in, go to the facility at 9, 10 o'clock at night and do dry reps on the mound. It's just a lot more focused work rather than like generalized work. Like, I'm sure, a lot of athletes, even in high school, they're gonna lift, they're gonna go to practice, but it's kinda what you do outside of the, like, scheduled practices, like, what do you do outside of team practices, outside of team lists? And it's kinda just touching on what I said earlier, you gotta find ways to separate yourself, and you have to want to do that. Like, you can't, show up to practice, go home, call it a day, and say, I got my work in for the day. There's
Yeah.
always more you can do. There's always more to be done, and you have to find a way to discipline yourself to do that every day, because every day you're not gonna feel like it every day. Like, I love baseball more than anything.
Mhm.
I wake up some days and don't want to do anything. It's the separation factor is being able to find a way, whether that be just willpower or just discipline to get something done during the day and be productive every day and just keep climbing.
Awesome, man. Just kind of talk about, with me, you were talking before we started a little bit, but you got a teammate following in your footsteps, former teammate Isaac
Yeah.
Duty going to go to Wabash. How cool is that to see, a guy you played with, went on red shirt last year, and now he's going to go and maybe experience some of the same things. I'm sure you've talked to him, given him some advice. How cool is stuff like that to you as a player to kind of share what you've been through with somebody else that you were a teammate with?
Yeah, and that's awesome. I've known Isaac since I was a kid, and when we were kids, like, we wouldn't ever imagine we'd end up at the same college, and so it's awesome to see him kind of going there, because, and I've talked to him, kind of what to expect, and I think that's going to be a huge step for him in his career. Um, because I mean, up at Wabash, it's a cornfield and nothing else.
Mhm,
Like, the
mhm.
closest city's 45, 50 minutes away. So I think him going up there and, finding a place to, just really hone in and focus, and with a good group of coaches and teammates that'll push him as well, is gonna really help him take that next step in his career.
Yeah, and you played at Pikeville, obviously. Your little brother's playing there right now. How close can you kind of? I'm sure you probably keep up, but I'm sure you probably can't get in and watch him play as much as you like. But how is it that you can maybe give him some advice? Maybe that something he's not seeing that maybe you can see now that maybe as a player you didn't realize or didn't even think of, and now you're like, hey, Caden,
Yeah.
do this, or this, or look for this.
Yeah.
Is that some of the things you try to do? Like in the summer while he's playing travel ball and you're together.
Yeah. So, like, playing at JUCO the 2 years, and it's just the exposure to the coaches and players I've been able to be around, you just you learn way more. Like, in the past 2 years at Wabash, and, playing summer ball on the West Coast, playing summer ball in the Appalachian League this summer, I've learned more about, like, the mechanical side, the mental side of the game than I probably did all 4 years of high school. It's just, like, once you get to that next level, it's a huge step. You learn more, you understand more, and that's something that I try to, ingrain in him as well. I'm with him every day. He comes with me to the field. He lives with me, and so it's cool to be able to, kind of, you know, give him some things that I've learned. Like I said, I don't hit anymore, but, like, just being around, like, Division I hitters, being around professional hitters, professional hitting coaches, you kind of just pick up on some things and learn some things that I'm able to get, kind of show and tell him that you wouldn't know unless you kind of get out there and learn those things. So
Yeah, and you just kind of talk about, he was having a great season, got injured.
yeah,
Hate to see that for anybody, but yeah, just talk about his future because I mean his defense was outstanding. I thought he was coming along on the mound and hitting. He could kind of do a little bit of everything out
yeah.
there. Just kind of young kid. Just kind of talk about what kind of future you think he's got because I watch him play and I'm like man the kid's really talented. Just kind of talk about that and how cool it is to see him going there and kind of developing in his own right, I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah, it's awesome. I think he has a brightest future as he'll take it. He's blessed with, some abilities that I didn't have. Like you said, his glove, ever since he was like 11, 12 years old, I kind of saw him make like a really cool play for the first time. I was like, okay, he's got something. And with the bat too, he's blessed with, super quick, strong hands, and like you said, he's coming along on the mound too. Kind of trusting his health again now after his injury. And once I think he keeps trusting that he's healthy, then he'll keep ticking up. Um, that he works hard too. He's got the work ethic that I do, and it's cool to see him take that after me and to kind of follow in my footsteps with that. And like, I mean, he'll be, a upcoming sophomore,
Mhm.
so he's got a lot of time and a lot of time to, prove his work ethic, prove the things that he's worked on, and I think he'll definitely, he'll get some records at high school
Uh,
before he graduates for sure.
Yeah, awesome. And going back to Murray State a little bit, and then we'll wrap up. I don't want to take too much of your time, but kind of you were playing summer before we talk about. Did they when you signed with them? Did they say, "Hey, we want you to rest a little bit, get ready for the fall"? What's the kind of the plan that they've got set in motion for you right now? Because each college is different. Sometimes you see them play a lot of fall ball before the season gets here. Like, have they reached out? Kind of, I'm sure they have. They told
Yeah.
you the plan for what they want you to do and what they expect once you get on campus?
Yeah. So I threw 75 innings this spring at Wabash, and I was throwing, once, twice a week and out in summer ball. And, once we got committed, he kind of called me and was like, hey, like, you've got a lot of innings under your belt the past 2 years at junior college, and, especially coming off the 75 inning year. They kinda just talked about me heading home, taking a couple weeks off throwing, and that's what I'm doing right now. Next Monday, I'm gonna start tossing again, and, that's kinda what they wanted me to do is just kinda reset and toss, whether start at, 20, 30 yards and just work my way back, and, hopefully, by August, when it's time to move in, I'm back at that point of, being comfortable getting back on the mound and kinda being in a good spot to kinda, be healthy and, have the arm strength and have my arm in shape in time to go down there and for the fall there, so
Yeah, and as a left-handed pitcher, I don't know if I mentioned before, he's a lefty. You can never get enough left-handed pitchers. Just kind of talk about how you fit in the rotation there, or how you foresee yourself, because it's hard to say what you're going to do. You never know.
yeah,
But just kind of like right now, how do you see yourself kind of fitting in and working your way in? Because you still got to learn some of the guys, I'm sure, some of the
yeah.
coaching staff. So, but you've got experience with that already. How's that going to play into helping yourself fit in with Murray State, I guess.
Yeah, so like you said, left-handed pitching is a huge advantage. It's a different look. It's one of those separation factors that I talked about earlier. And obviously, with the experience of junior college coming in, it kind of builds trust in those big situations in games. And so with the experience from junior college being left-handed, it kind of gives me a good, chance to be in that starting rotation and even, come out of the bullpen in high leverage situations like to close.
Mhm.
Just because, after, playing in the JUCO World Series, having 100 innings of junior college, playing a lot of baseball the past 2 years, it kind of builds trust and, comfortability in those big moments. And the coaches would be able to trust me in those moments because they know I've been there before.
Yeah, and nowadays when you see pitching at the major league level, it's all about everybody wants to talk velocity, velocity. That's very important, obviously, in today's game. But you mentioned location, finding the right pitch, the right situation. How, as a pitcher, I mean, how are you studying what's important to you? Is it, in a big situation, what pitch to throw, or is it, trust my location, I can hit
Yep.
the spots when I need them? Kind of, what's your outlook on some of those things? Because everybody's got a different perspective
Yeah.
on pitching, especially the higher levels you get.
Yeah. Velocity is obviously really important. You see the guys in the big leagues now, everybody's throwing 100. I'm 88, 92,
Mhm.
and which is a good
Really
velocity
good.
like that. That plays. But my biggest strength, I feel like, and kind of what separates me is deception. Kind of like what I said is I throw 4 pitches now. I rarely throw the same pitch 2 times in a row. It's just keeping hitters off balance, and that's kind of my philosophy is keeping hitters off balance. You know, you can't I've heard my coach told me this is you can't strike somebody out when it's 0-0, right? It's got to be
Exactly.
0-2. So I kind of just pitch, keep people off balance, and just work with deception. And if I get to 0-2, okay, yeah, then we can try to bury one and try to send someone back to the dugout. But just early in the count, early in the game, especially as a starting pitcher, you want to be efficient. So you want to be in the zone. My biggest philosophy is, throw my 4 pitches in the zone, keep them off balance, and just be efficient and try to get deep into games.
Awesome. I guess last thing, and we'll let you go. I mean, I'm taking up enough of your time, and I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Just where do you see yourself? What's your future goals? What do you want to accomplish at Murray State? What do you want to get out of this? I know education is important
Yeah.
to you, obviously, but what are some goals? Whether it's just getting better as a player, maybe seeing where things lead down the line. I know it's tough question to answer, but
Yeah.
just kind of what are some of the goals that you want to achieve while you're at Murray State for the next couple of years?
Yeah. Coming in as a junior, I want to make an impact right away. Like we said earlier, I have a chance to be, a starting pitcher, high leverage arm out of the bullpen. So I really just want to go in there, make an impact right away, and get better, like develop. Like I said earlier, like I have a lot of trust with their coaches, and I really, really believe and bought in on what their philosophies are and what they do with their pitchers. And so the plan right now is just kind of go there, keep working hard, throw a lot of innings in a lot of big situations. And, maybe, the draft starts becoming realistic, here in the next year and after my senior year. And I'm going to play baseball as long as I can. I'm a baseball player. Just keep the dream alive as long as I can.
Absolutely. That was a great answer. But one more thing with the new NILs and stuff. Say you're home this summer and there's maybe a parent who wants to reach out and, get tutoring or some help from, for their kid,
Yeah.
from you. I'm sure that's something you can do now that it's, been years past, maybe you wouldn't have had the opportunity to have some, I guess, teach lessons to
Yep.
your kids. You can do stuff like that now, right? With this
Yeah.
new NIL and stuff. So, is that something you're exploring while you're home and stuff as well to try to maybe work with some younger kids who
Yeah.
are interested in learning something new, learning something from a D1 player? And if so, how can, maybe parents or kids reach out to you and stuff like that?
Yeah. I'm actually doing lessons right now. And I'll be doing them all summer. It's on my Facebook. I made a post on Facebook. If you want to, get with me and get to work, and I'll put your kid to work, and we work for an hour, and I have some kids that come once a week, some that come twice a week, some that come 3 times a week, and I like to work with the kids around here, kind of teach them what I've learned, kind of what we talk about with my brother. After just learning a lot of stuff, I have a lot of knowledge to give, and so there's no point in keeping all that to myself. So I like to give back, and I like to give back physically too. Like the other day, I got done work with the kid and gave him a signed bat. For me, I like to give back. It's a good feeling to be able to do that. In this town where I'm from.
Yeah, and I think that's, important too. Kids look up to you. They see that you're living a dream. They can achieve a dream if you can. I think that's so great. So, Dylan, we appreciate your time. Great. Best of luck at Murray State. I know you'll do well. I will have to reach out to Mike Davis and those guys out there and tell them to watch out for you. So, for Dylan Thompson, for Rick behind the scenes, I won't say his last name anymore because he doesn't like it. For Corey Vance over there doing some kind of video work, I'm Randy White. Check us out next time on Wired Appalachia Podcast. We'll see you later.